maybe people come in later. We got the message. So yes, it say the meeting is being recorded. So you just click on it. So yes, and in advance, I want to apologize. My Zoom is acting really strange in my camera. So I will turn the camera off because I've been on and off. So I don't want to, yeah, it feels a little weird. I wish I can see everybody and everybody can see me. But yeah, welcome to this session. And the first thing that I'm gonna do is just share my screen. Let me know if you can see it just with so does everybody can see the presentation?
Yep, we can see it.
Yep, perfect. Okay, perfect. So this is our taxes 101. Is a big monster. I know we have just a couple of minutes. If we can talk about taxes, we will spend, I will say, more than one afternoon. But today, basically, we're gonna get like the basics. First of all, my name is Diana Sanchez. My pronouns is she, hers, and I'm the self-sufficiency coordinator at Compass Center. You will find the information here with the email. Please don't worry, you don't have to write down anything. We will share this information in a follow-up email with the presentation and everything. So I want everybody to just relax if you want to take notes. But once again, we will share this presentation deck in an via email. And go ahead, Dave, if you want to present.
Yeah, and I'll just introduce myself. My name is Deve. I use they, them pronouns, and I'm the Self-Sufficiency Program Director at the Compass Center. And again, my contact information will go out in that email after the session if you need to reach out to Diana or myself.
Yeah, great. So I know we have an exercise to maybe put everybody to talk and do the presentation, but because of the time, what we want you for everybody is, if you don't mind, to use the chat feature. You will see it at the top or the bottom. You will click chat and you can put your name with the pronouns. And I think that will be all, or is there anything else, Dave, that maybe I missed?
I think if you have a specific question or thing you're hoping to learn today, that might help us kind of focus on the things that folks who are here today are most interested in. But yeah, if you would just introduce yourself in the chat, let us know what name you like to be called so we can refer to you respectfully. Let us know what pronouns you prefer, again, so just so we can refer to you in a respectful way during this session. And yeah, if you have a question or something you want to learn, just put it in the chat. And we're going to keep moving while you all introduce yourselves, just in the interest of time.
Right. Yes, absolutely. So first of all, the first question for everybody is why taxes are so important. I know some of you guys heard, oh yes, because taxes help the cities, taxes help us to build the city and the community for services, improving everything. But in terms of ourselves, like how taxes are important for you as an individual, as a family, as the head of the family, as someone that is trying to get the best of your financial. So pretty much in this session, what we're going to learn is to get the biggest tax refund you are entitled to. A lot of people, they may say, yeah, taxes are important, but I think one of the things that we want to emphasize today is make your refund is a stepping stone of your financial goals. A lot of people plan a lot of things with the taxes, and I think this is the best opportunity. And I would say there's scenarios and cases where people, instead of getting a refund, they have to pay back, which is, yeah, absolutely, like other specific scenarios. But in general, a refund is just like a break. Like you can breathe a little bit, plan ahead of time. Some people get the taxes to plan for something to pay, some debts or a big purchase, or put it back in savings. We're going over that in a little bit. But yeah, today we want you to make sure that you get the biggest tax refund and also pay the least money when you file your taxes. We are not a tax experts. A lot of questions you may have today, they are not like, we're going to answer that. But what we want, and one of the things about Compass Center, is that we want to make sure that you have the tools and the resources. We offer at Compass Center financial counseling services. If you guys haven't heard about that, you will receive that in an email. But we want to make sure, and this is a warm invitation for everybody after this session, if you want to like get an appointment with us, contact us, and we offer great services. We have great advocates. I'm one of those financial counselors that help you to reach out to any financial goal. So this is a warm invitation that Compass Center offer those services, and they are completely free. So this is the main part about why taxes or why they are so important. Let me click next.
Yeah, and so jumping right in, when we were asked to come talk to y'all, I think, can we
Sorry.
go back a couple of slides?
Yes. Let's
Oop.
see. Oh, I don't know. I think it's really, there you go.
One more.
One more.
Yes. So
Great.
when we were asked to come and speak with y'all, one of the first things that occurred to me is like tax season is such a stressful time for a lot of people, and one of the biggest decisions during the season is like, what method do I use to file my taxes? And that choice can be fairly consequential. So we wanted to go over what the various options are and make sure y'all are getting the most out of your tax filing. So there are 3 basic different ways to file taxes in this country. The first is not used by a lot of people for some fairly good reasons. That is just pulling the forms from irs.gov and filling them out on paper. And that really is not something we typically recommend. That is the least assisted method, but some people do it, and you can do it that way. The 2 that we're going to spend a little bit more time talking about are tax filing softwares, right? Some of y'all may have used like a TurboTax or a TaxSlayer or software like that to file your taxes. And there are so many different options out there. It can sometimes be very overwhelming to choose one and to know what you're choosing. And then there's sitting down with someone who assists you in filing taxes, and that may be there are also a lot of options out there that your bank or credit union may offer that service. You may know of services like H&R Block or Liberty Taxes. And there's also our local VITA sites, which we'll talk about quite a bit. And one thing I want to stress is this is all about y'all knowing your options, because there are lots of choices and many of them are valid, right? Like depending on your circumstances and your situation, you're gonna know best which option is best for you. We just want you to have the information necessary to make an informed choice. Can I get the next slide, please? Back one.
Oh, I don't know why. I have it in another screen. Let me know. Just a moment. It's not allowing me.
Okay.
Is that one the next one? Is good?
Back one. You were on it a moment ago. Yeah.
A moment. Okay, let's see. I'm using the keyboard. My apologies. This one.
This is it.
Yeah, there you go.
So yeah, so when you're choosing a filing method, there are 3 big questions that rise to the top when we're working with clients to try to figure this out. And the first one is, what is it going to cost you to file? And this is where I feel like maybe we can bring some of the most helpful information, which is that if you do not make a ton of money, you should never have to pay someone to file your taxes, whether that's paying a software company or paying a person. There are so many free options available that are high quality and that can do most tax returns for most people and families. That we want you to know there are free options out there, right? So there are a lot of the free options will have some income caps. So I want to make sure you know what those are. If you make under $73,000 a year filing as a single individual, or under $100,000 a year as spouses married filing together, so that would be your combined income with your spouse, there are very, very few reasons why you should ever have to pay to file your taxes. There are a lot of services out there that do charge. They will happily charge you money. They will happily take their cut of your refund. But they're offering services that are equivalent to free services that are available. And that's where we really want to kind of point folks towards those free services, so that you can keep your hard-earned money, right? If it's coming back to you in a tax return, we don't want you to have to pay it to someone else unnecessarily. And there are a lot of services that will kind of hook people in with some pretty questionable kind of advertising techniques, right? You may hear commercials or see, ads that say, make sure you get your max refund. And that is kind of implying that if you use a free service and not their paid service, that you're not going to get the refund that you're entitled to. And I'm here as a professional in this field to make sure y'all understand that the free softwares that are out there are equivalent to the softwares that you pay for. The free service offered by our local VITA site is as high quality or higher quality to a lot of the paid services out there that are advertising in this manner. And so we want to kind of point folks again towards those free services so you get to keep your full refund and not pay it to someone else unnecessarily. And there are also some places that have gimmicks that are even a little bit more questionable. I mean, you may see places talking about like, get your refund early or get an instant refund. And what they don't tell you is that you will pay for that convenience, right? They charge for that fast turnaround where they're taking a cut of your refund and then they're giving you the rest that's guaranteed to come later. And they're just giving it to you early because they can wait for it as a business, where you as an individual might be really wanting or needing the cash now. And then some of those places will even charge for things that are typically free. Like we've just anecdotally from clients have heard that places will get to the end of filing, you'll have paid the upfront price for them to file your taxes, and then all of a sudden you're like, hey, I really would like to receive my refund via direct deposit. And they're like, oh, well, to set that up, we're going to charge you another $30. Where if you're doing that on a free tax filing software, you're doing that with the VITA site, they set that up for free. So again, just really taking into consideration, what am I going to pay for this filing method? And making sure that you're not paying for something that you could be getting somewhere else for free. The next question is, can this method meet my personal filing? Now, I've said a lot about how you should never pay someone to file your taxes, and there are circumstances where that's not true, right? There are circumstances where taxes get very complicated, where the free filing software or the local VITA site that does assist people for free in filing their taxes might just be kind of out of their depth. But I want to give you some examples of what those are, because oftentimes people think they fall in that category when they don't. And because it's some pretty specific things. And a lot of times we recommend talking to the VITA site, even if you think maybe your taxes might be too complicated, just talking to them to see if they might be able to do them, rather than kind of going with a paid service as a first option. So one thing that can get kind of tricky when you're filing is if you have lots of different sources of income, not just you're like, I've worked one job, I have a W-4, and that's my main source of income. If you work a lot of part-time jobs, if you work gig employment, if you're self-employed, or if you have sources of income that are unearned income, like maybe you have investments, maybe you own some rental properties, getting rental income. Those are times when if you've got lots of that going on, your taxes might get very complicated, and these free services might just not be able to handle them. There are a couple other situations, things like if you are married but filing separately from your spouse, that's just a very specific filing status that the tax code does not really support. It's usually not encouraged, and it makes a lot of the things that kind of happen smoothly when you're married filing jointly or when you're filing single, a little bit more bumpy in figuring out what you are and are not eligible for. So that might be a time to kind of talk to a professional, see if the free service is going to be able to handle it, and it might be a time you would pay someone to file your taxes. The other situation is if you worked in a lot of different places, right? If you worked across state lines in multiple states, if you worked out of the country, right? That gets into some other kind of complicated things that some of the free services might not be able to support. But again, right, if maybe you worked in one other state, or or moved mid-year between states, right, that still might be something you can file for free. You might just need to consider that when you're choosing your method. So I wanted to just kind of list those out so that y'all have an understanding of when it might be worth kind of paying someone to help. And if you're not falling into those categories, to really just keep in mind there's probably a free service out there that can meet your filing. Some other things to think about when you're choosing a filing method in terms of your needs is, are you filing your taxes for this tax year, right? So right now that would be for 2022. Do you have to also file some back taxes? Do you need to file 2021 taxes or 2020 or 2019 or going back in time? Some places can file back taxes, some can't. And if you're doing it all at once, it can be really helpful to be all on the same platform or using the same service for all of them. So choosing one that can file all the years that you're trying to do at this time can just make it a little bit simpler to do. What state taxes are you filing? Because a lot of these methods, like all of them can do federal taxes, but not all of them can do every state, right? So if you're filing in North Carolina, which of the softwares support the North Carolina income taxes as well? The local VITA site that I keep mentioning can file North Carolina taxes. They can't do other states, right? So that might be a reason to choose a software that can do multiple states, and making sure that software supports all the states that you need to file in. There are some documentation requirements that might be different between using the VITA site versus using a tax software. So considering what documentations do you have and what documentations do you need for that filing method. And then the final one is your level of comfort with navigating a software or with sharing with another human being, right? Would you prefer to sit down with someone and talk it out? Or are you more comfortable doing things privately? Are you someone who's pretty comfortable on a computer and can use a software that's designed to be fairly user-friendly? You don't have to be a computer programmer to use tax software. But is that something that's gonna be easy for you to do, or where you could have someone easily help you do it? Or is using software really a barrier for you and not going to work for you? And that might be a reason to use VITA instead. So those are some things about your filing needs that you might want to balance or consider when choosing your method. And then the final question is really just, am I eligible for the method that I want to choose? Right? Are you income eligible? Different software platforms have different income caps. The VITA site uses the caps that I mentioned at the top of this, with $73,000 a year for filing single and $100,000 combined for filing married jointly. And then some of if you're choosing a software platform, some of the different softwares are geared towards specific populations. So you just want to read the fine print, make sure that you're using one that is open to you. There's some that have like age limits. There's some specifically for seniors that if you're under 60 or 65, you're not allowed to use. There's some that are specific for military personnel or military veterans with specific types of pay. So you just want to be reading carefully and making sure you're not choosing one that would kick you out at the end if you don't meet some other criteria. And those are the main things to consider. And I want y'all to know, we're not going to go through all of the various filing options out on the table this year. They do change year to year. So you might, if you used a software last year, you might choose a different software this year, or you might choose the same one depending on, a lot of these questions. But we were providing a handout after this session that does have sort of side-by-side comparison of the various options, and we'll take you through some online links to information about our local VITA site, which is the free tax assistance site for the county. They're located in the senior centers, but they are a service to anyone. You don't have to be a senior to use them. So their physical locations are at the Seymour Center in Chapel Hill and the Passmore Center in Hillsborough. And they also offer some online supported virtual options there too. And then in the handout, there'll also be links to where to find the various software options available, and where to find the ones that are reputable and available for free. So we'll leave that in your hands. And also, if you have questions that come up, that would be a great time to reach out to Diana or myself to come in for a financial counseling appointment. We are not tax filers, but we can certainly help you choose a method. If you're like, I have some questions, this is confusing, and I just want a little support knowing which direction to go. So that will be in the handouts at the end of this. And then the final thing I wanted to say about choosing a method is we have gotten some feedback from clients, and honestly, I've had this experience myself when I was a younger person, to just be aware that some of the software platforms that are out there do have multiple versions. They'll have a free version, and then they'll have a version that's not free, and they often look very, very similar. They can be hard to tell apart. And what can happen is you can think you're on the free version, enter all your information, get to the point of filing, and then it says, okay, to file this, it costs X, Y, and Z amount of money. And that can be very frustrating because you've just put in the time to put in all your information. And so that's why we're sending out the handouts, and we recommend using the links that we're providing, not just kind of doing a general Google search online, because you can kind of end up in the wrong place. And yeah, we're just trying to make it a little bit easier to find high quality free services for tax filing this season. And from here, I'll kick it to Diana.
Yes, so that was great information. I want to make sure I'm looking at the chat, and I see some of you. I think Diana is already posting, is interested in one-on-ones. We'll reach out to you to set up an appointment and everything. And please, this is a invitation. Use the chat for any questions that you have. We will try to make sure to address or at least acknowledge those questions. So the next thing that I want to go over is tax credit. So let me move to the next one. Okay, so you probably hear about tax credit. What is a tax credit? How to take advantage of the tax credit. One of the first things that I want to make sure is you may hear about tax deductions and exemptions versus tax credit. So there is a big difference between both of those. When you do your taxes, you do deductions and exemptions. That one basically pretty much reduce how much your income is subject to the taxes. The tax credit it helps you to reduce the taxpayer final tax dollar for dollar. So it can help you maybe to reduce the amount of tax you own, or it may increase your tax refund. Doesn't matter, even if you don't own any taxes, you may eligible to receive a tax or a tax refund. There's three different times that different type of tax credits. This tax credit, it can be individual. You may hear if you have a small business, there's a bunch of tax credit types. But today we want to go over to the most relevant tax credits. Those are, the first one is the EITC, which is the Earned Income Tax Credit. The second one that you may hear that is really common, especially for families with kids, is the Child Tax Credit. And the third one is the Child Independent Tax Care Tax Credit. So those are the three. We're gonna go over to each one of those. And again, why these are so important. These tax credits are important because it helps you to pay for bills, for childcare, for anything that you spent during your last year. It helps you with that. And it's also part of a financial habit. It helps you with your budget. As I mentioned before, this help you with like a tax break and give you a little break about your financial and it give you that particular break. The general requirements, there is a lot of, there you go. So there is a couple of requirements. You will find websites as the IRS, other websites. I want to make sure that we will go with the basics, but you will find all the information in the tax or the taxes handout that we're gonna share with you after the session. It's a document that you will find a lot of very, very helpful links related to a specific requirement, checklist, so you can be ready at the time to file your taxes. Now, for the three tax credit that I mentioned, the Earned Income Tax Credit, the Child Tax Credit, in the child independent care tax credit. Those are, so having a social security, a valid social security is the main requirement, and be a US citizen or a resident alien all the year. Those are the general eligibility requirements. Now, if you want to learn more about the tax credit and see if you're qualified, I'm gonna drop in the chat a link. But again, this link, you will find it as well in the handout. But this is a great link. This link is very simple in language. It helps you to understand if you're eligible. Is taxoutreach.org. And that is, I highly recommend it that you put it on your favorites, and it will help you to understand a little bit better about the tax credit, and if you're eligible, what are the requirements and all of that. So the first one that I want to make sure to go over is the earned income tax credit, if you are eligible or if you're not eligible for this one. So the earned income tax credit, it helps like low, moderate income workers and family, as I mentioned, to get a tax break. This particular one, it increased and expanded. So now it is include for people that is not raising children. A lot of times people think like tax credit is if I have a kid or a children between the age of 19 and 24. So now if not raising children between the age of 19 and 24 and 65 and over. So it's expanded and increased that criteria for everybody. One of the main requirements is you have to work and earn income under the amount of 57,414 during the year, have an investment income below the 10,000 in the tax year. And one of the specific things is not file the form, which is the 2555. This one is more related to if you receive income outside of the country or foreign income. So that one is pretty much. So yes, it is expanded now, including seniors and youth people that they don't have children. So that is the main difference from prior years. And this particular tax credit, it can help you to work up to 6,935, meaning that you may eligible to get a tax refund up to 6,935. So that one is the first one, is the most, well, not the most common one, but again, it's the invitation for you to check if you don't have children and you're basically meet this criteria, you may check and see if you're eligible to receive that tax refund. So that one is the first one.
I want to clarify
yes.
one thing. To be eligible, you do have to have children unless you are either between the ages of 19 and 24 or over 65. So this was a family tax credit only until the pandemic. And during the pandemic, it was expanded to individuals who don't have children, but only in those age categories, youth and seniors.
Got it. Yes, so you have to meet the criteria between the age of 19 and 24 with no children. Okay, got it. Thank you.
But you can be 19 to 24 and have children, and that would also make you eligible,
right,
if you meet the other eligibility criteria. The other thing I want to clarify is when we have on these slides that it's worth up to a certain amount, that doesn't guarantee that everyone who gets an earned income tax credit gets that full amount. That's just the maximum possible to get, right? So you might get some, but less than that, or depending on your circumstances and your, your earnings and all of that, you could get up to that.
Up to that, yes. So that one is the maximum. It could be less than that amount. Yes, absolutely. Let me go to the next one. It's just like I'm trying to use not to miss the next one. Okay, so the next one is the most related to people and families that they are raising kids. This one is the child tax credit, and this one is worth up to $2,000 per child. So if you have more than one child in the family, so it's for each child up to $2,000. Now, the main criteria or eligibility for this one is you must earn more than $2,500 the child must be under 17 up to December 31st, 2022. So it must be under that age by that time, December 31st, 2022. And another important thing is if you're claiming one child or more than one, you have to make sure that they live with you at least for more than half of the year. And this one, again, it helps you to with those costs during the past year of raising kids, anything from childcare, school, anything, raising your kids, basically. So this one is the second one.
And I want to chime in here too, and this is something that's specific just to this year, which is some of y'all may have claimed the child tax credit last year and heard about the expanded child tax credit in 2021. There was all kinds of things happening with that. But if you did not file taxes in 2021, or you did not get a child tax credit in 2021 when you would have been eligible to, like you had kids who were under 17 in 2021, that tax year, the child tax credit was much larger than this year and previous years. And the IRS has extended the deadline for claiming that tax credit. So just so no one misses the opportunity, if you would be eligible for the 2021 child tax credit, that was up to $6,000 per child. So $3,600 per child, which is just a lot more than this year. So if you missed out on filing, or if you missed out on claiming that and you believe you might be eligible, it is absolutely worth filing last year's taxes to claim that, or going back and revising last year's taxes to claim that. We don't want anyone to miss out on that, and you have until 2025 to do it. So just making a plug for that.
Yeah, absolutely. We don't want to miss any deadlines related to important like filing the taxes. So for that specific one will be until there is still plenty of time, but it will be that deadline, April 15, 2025, which is the last date for the families to claim that 2021, the child tax credit. So this is still April 15, 2025 for that particular one. So that one is the second one, the second type of the child tax credit. And the next one, it will be the child independent care tax credit. This one is worth up to $4,000 per child. Again, is like the maximum 4,000. It could be, of course, less than that, but the maximum you may get is 4,000 per kid. This one, again, it helps you to pay for any care that you have for any child independent back in 2022. This one in particular, the eligibility is children under the age of 13 that you claim in your taxes as a dependent, or in addition to that, that's why it's child independent. It also includes any dependent or a spouse that they're not able to care of themselves. So this one is including, like in addition to the child tax credit, now we have a dependent that you may be taking care of. And in this one, it will be if you pay for someone to care or more qualified persons in order for work or looking for work. So if you're paying for someone or taking care of someone for that, this one, it may help you and you may eligible for that. Same as the other one, or similar to the other one, the dependent have to live with you for more than half of the year, or for more than that is the minimum amount. And you spend less for dependent care during 2022 than your total income for the year. So you have to make sure when you're doing the taxes, okay, what was my total income for the year, and just compare with how much you spent for that dependent, the care of that dependent during 2022. Again, this one is a little bit higher than the other one, which is 4,000 per child. And something really important is you may qualify for this one or more than one of them. So there's 3 different tax credits, and you can be eligible for 1 or 2 or 3 of them for those particular taxes.
And I'll chime in. I'll chime in here too. for this last bullet point that says like to qualify, you have to spend less for the care than your total income for the year. If this is a married couple filing jointly, you have to have spent less than whoever made the least amount of money in that couple on in order to qualify for this tax credit.
Yeah. So depending how do you, if you find jointly or if you find separately, it will make a huge difference in your eligibility, in your actual refund, pretty much. But yeah, so those are the three of them. In general, they have the same criteria. There's a couple of difference between the ages, who is eligible or not. But pretty much what we want to emphasize is you may eligible. A lot of people, they don't know. A lot of people think that taxes is just, let me do this documentation, send it to the IRS and see how much they are received. And you may don't know that you may qualify for one of these. And the good thing is, for example, for the child tax credit, there's some extension if you didn't file in 2024. So always keep up with those updates and new, and just make sure that you may qualify for one or some of those tax credits. So yeah, so this is the part that after we're explaining how to file the taxes, what is the best option for me to file. They did a great job like going over to the different taxes. We want to make sure and keep you aware to be careful. Like as we mentioned, marketing is out there waiting for people to file taxes, but keep in mind that you can, as much as is possible, like file for free and just check what is the best option for you. Now, when we're talking about taxes and all of that, the next question is, so now what? Now what we do with my tax refund? Why, after I file in my taxes, what is really, really important? What are you doing with that tax refund? We are not here to tell you what is the best idea or what is not the best idea, because at the end is the money. It's the money that you worked during your past year, is what you earned, what you, it's your refund for you and your family. So some of the questions that I want to open to the floor really quick is, so first of all, depending how you receive the refund, it could be direct deposit or mail. You will check those options. Some people may think direct deposit is quicker to you. But yeah, I want to make sure to put it on the floor right now and having this minutes. As you guys may probably know from the prior sessions, we love to open the floor to discussion. Is what you're planning to do the refund. You may put a portion towards savings, paying off some debts. Some people they use for emergency expenses. Some people they may use and say, okay, you know what? Let me put a percentage toward my savings and use this other percentage paying some debt, how much you will planning to save. So I would love to hear from everybody, and I will stop sharing really quick to see everybody, or at least the names. And whoever wants to share, if you maybe you already talk with your spouse, with your partner about what to do with your refund, or you're very welcome to say, you know what, I haven't think about that. A lot of people, what they do is as soon as they get the refund, they start thinking about what to do with the refund, which is fine. Again, it's nothing to do like what is the best decision or not, but we would love to hear everybody, or if someone wants to share their talks about planning your refund. So this is just the open floor. I see Diana Harris, they have the hand up. So go ahead, Diana.
So I'm retired, so I don't get much anyway in a refund, but for the most part, I split it half and half. It goes into emergency and it goes into paying off bills.
Thank you, Diana, for sharing. So I hear emergency in some debts and savings. Okay. Yeah, and you're right. That's some of the realities for retirements. They may not get as much refund, but yeah, you're taking advantage of that. So some people in the chat it's also sharing. So I hear someone is sharing. Samantha, thank you so much for your feedback. You're saying my refund goes to night out plus debt. That's great. That's good. So yeah, so I hear really common debt. I think debt is one of the biggest one. A lot of people wait for the taxes because, yeah, they may not have the whole year paying towards a credit card or towards a collection, and they use this time to like a relief, like, oh, finally I get this and I can have a relief on my debt. So thank you so much for sharing that.
Yeah, and I'll just say here also, like one of the reasons we kind of focus hard on tax season and really want to make sure people are getting the most out of their tax refunds, is because this is often like once a year windfall, right? Like it may be the only time of year you see this amount of money coming in, especially for families with kids, with all of the child related tax credits that are fairly large or that can add up if you have multiple children. So it's a time of year we see folks like prepaying their rent or making a large purchase that they can't afford any other time of the year. And we want to be, in conversation with folks about like, what are your larger financial goals? And right, is there a way to make this moment in time, which is this once a year windfall, serve those larger goals? Right. And everyone's goals are going to be different and individual to them. So we're not here to tell you, oh, it should be this or it should be that. But we want to kind of ask the question, what are the goals, right? And how can what you're seeing come in this season really set you up for your future in the way that you want to do? Yeah, car
Yeah.
repairs, absolutely. We see a lot of vehicle purchases happen around this year.
Mhm.
A lot of debts get paid off around this year. What else
Right.
are people thinking of doing with their refunds this year?
I think is one of the big ones. A lot of people focus on those. Some people they said, okay, let me just, as I mentioned, like divide it, maybe savings, and the other part with debts. And oh, I see also home improvement. That's great. Yes, some people take advantage of this year. Like, you know what? This is the time I've been thinking to set up my garden or doing some repairs at my house. That because of the budget, the daily expenses, you don't have the chance to do it. So yes, this is the time to also maybe reach out some financial goals. And we really understand in as a people in families that move every year there's different financial needs and goals. So it's not like every year you may use the refunds for the same thing. It may change. So maybe you're asked yourself, how did you use the refund last year? Did that work? Or maybe, you know what, last year I used it not very smartly. Let me try something else. Let me see. So a lot of people use for a completely reasons last year. So you were satisfied with that, you were happy doing that decision, and that helped you to understand a little bit better what to do with the refund this year and the next year. And again, open conversations with your family, with your partner, with yourself as well. But yeah, what else? So we have car repairs, home improvement, debt. Does anybody, I'm just wondering, use it for pretty much like savings? Or does everybody have the chance to, you know what, then and if we use it one time, my family, we were able to save the majority of the tax refund. Does anybody have that particular experience?
Just food for thought. It one thing I've heard from I was working with someone one time and they had the brilliant idea of taking a chunk out of the tax refund and putting it away for Christmas, because they knew every Christmas they were like over budget on gifts and parties and all the things, the celebrations that you really want to be able to do. And they're like, look, if I know I'm getting all the money in February and I know I'm spending all the money in December, I just take a chunk of it out and don't look at it for the year, and then it grows interest for the year, and I've got my Christmas fund. I've
Right.
definitely heard other people talk about like taking that tax refund and putting it into retirement savings,
Mhm.
or chunking it out, dividing it out into like, okay, this is going to go into savings, this is going to go towards home improvement, this is going to go towards a down payment on a new vehicle. because maybe mine is, not so reliable anymore. So it can be a lot of different things depending on the size of your refund and depending on your financial circumstances right now. So in the interest of time, I want to move us forward and just ask if there are any questions that have come up for you during our little presentation. Burning questions, things you really want to know that we might be able to share back. And I will remind you that this is being recorded. So if you're not comfortable asking your question on a recording that's going to go out to, I think you're sending this out to Town of Chapel Hill employees.
Yes, I was going to post it on the Wellness at Work website.
Okay, so this will be
people-
fairly public. The recording will
Yeah.
be fairly public. So
Yeah,
if you have a question, you're not comfortable answering it here, do please reach out to Diana or myself after the session. You'll get our email addresses in a follow-up. But if you have some questions that you feel comfortable asking, and maybe other people are wondering the same thing and we can answer that here, love to do what we can.
and I'll just say kind of logistically, I'll send an email to everyone who has attended today later this afternoon, and Dave and Diana's email will be on there as well. And then Dave and Diana, you will then be sending an email to the group that has the resources that you talked about, correct?
Yes.
Yes, we will
Yes.
send this slide deck, a handout with all of the information we talked about, including, and a couple of other links to important information.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
And I've got a question
Yeah, go ahead, Angie.
to the group. I have a 20-year-old and I just got his W-2s in the mail. He earned slightly over $5,000. He is a full-time college student. Is that worth him filing his own taxes for just over $5,000?
That is a great question, and the answer is it might be.
Mhm.
Okay.
But there are a lot of other circumstances involved. I think one of the questions is, are you going to claim him as a dependent? In which case it might not be. But if he's paying more than 50% of his own expenses on a day-to-day basis, yeah, if he earned any money, right, he might be eligible for that earned income tax credit. Right, so there are some reasons why it might be, and it might be worth exploring that with your local Vitus site, or just pulling up the free tax software and filling it out. And if at the end it's like you're not going to get a substantial refund and you don't owe anything, then like maybe don't file. But it also can be a really healthy thing to be doing with your children at that age, because taxes are scary. I know, like, I didn't file my own taxes when I was 20, right? My mom did it for me, and you know, doing it together was part of how I learned how to do it for myself, and kind of demystify the process. Like, hey, this is not something that's impossible for you to do. It's not beyond your capabilities and your intelligence. It's just a drudgery task that we all have to do once a year. And also, like, you know, sharing with him what you're learning about, like, and here's how to find the tax filing software that's right for you, or here's how to, you know, find your local Vitus site that can help walk you through it if you're not comfortable doing it on your own. So I think that's a great exercise, even if he doesn't end up filing, but there are circumstances where even with that little income, it might be worth it.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Thank you.
Angie, I don't know if you saw in the chat, someone said that they started filing their taxes at 19 and only had worked at Chipotle for a couple of months, and they got a couple $100 back.
Right.
Yes, yeah, that's why I got really excited. When Dave was saying, you know, just try the software and just plug in the numbers and see if it's worth it. Yeah,
Right.
we'll do that. Thank you.
And because it's free is when you take advantage of these services by not having to pay it in you know, this particular products that they offer in the marketing, when you can take advantage of free services and just check. And if it's not qualified, or maybe it's not the amount, so you will see, and they will give you the answer. But yeah, I think this is,
and in the oh, sorry.
No. I was about to say, like, this one is very linked, and this is just a quick talk about this is the idea of the Lunch and Learn, that we link the prior topics that we talk about. For example, last month, we talked about how family influenced our financial decisions. So Angie, that is the opportunity for you and everybody with kids, how to get it early into this conversation, so it doesn't feel more like it's scary when you're doing by yourself. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Another thing I'll say, I'll just plug in the materials we're in the handout that we're sending, there are some links to kind of figuring out if you have to file your taxes. So that might be another thing to look at, because it is like, if you make under a certain amount, you don't have to file a federal return. I just want to stress that the tax credits that we chose to talk about today are tax credits that are targeted specifically at lower income families or middle income families. And they're designed in such a way that even if you don't have to file, you might get money back, right? Even if you owed nothing in taxes, you still can get a refund from some of these tax credits. And this is part of how our federal government structures public benefits. And a lot of these tax credits are not reaching the lowest income families or individuals. And a lot of that is youth who don't file. A lot of that are seniors who don't file. Or folks who don't work, who don't file because they don't know that there's money on the table, right? We, like even more than a lot of what we think of as traditional like welfare benefit programs, that most benefits in this country exist in our tax code. And so if you don't file, then you don't get access to those. And a lot of those have to do with children, and that's why we highlighted those 3 tax credits specifically, but that's also a reason to file, even if you might not be required to file because your income is too low. And that, yeah, certainly we want the next generation to know that.
Thank you.
Thank you for asking that question. That's such a great question. I think we have time for maybe one more question before we wrap up.
Yeah, I'm checking in the chat. If someone has a question again, you can post it in the chat. You can mute up yourself, or again, if maybe you came up with another question later, you're very welcome to reach out to us via email or call us. We have those one-on-ones available sessions for you.
And maybe I'll keep an eye on the chat, but in the final few minutes, would love for you to share with this group the services that are available to them at Compass Center if they would like more of this one-on-one.
Yes, absolutely, Lizka. So we have, we not only have the financials, is what we've here today. Compass Center also, we offer career counseling services for financial and career. As I mentioned, I'm doing those financial and career. We also have a great team available for you to receive those services. There's a great incentive, like gift cards available for the first 2 financial or career sessions. So we want for you also to take advantage of that. It's like a motivation for you to take those services. They are completely free. There's no cost for that. And to make it easier for you, we offer those services virtually, over the phone, or in person. So our office is very welcome to for you to visit and have those financial sessions. Again, it's very formal. It's a safe environment, no judgmental, similar to here. It's just having a conversation and open up about your goals and what you want for your financial future.
And I will maybe
You're in mute.
Yeah.
there I am. I'll finish off by saying I'm putting a link in the chat to a quick evaluation survey that is really just asking y'all to give feedback about your experience today, so that we can make sure that when we do programming like this, it is high quality. And so we want to hear from you how this was for you, if you have a moment. And that link will also go out in my email after the session.
Okay. Yeah, it's just less than 10 minutes to fill out that survey. And we really appreciate your participation today. That was really interesting. Again, it was a great topic, and I'm pretty sure you probably will have more questions. But yeah, this is an open invitation to reach out to us. And thank you, Lizka, as well, for being here, as always, supporting our Lunch and Learn. and everything. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you all for attending, and thank you, Dee and Diana, and look forward to seeing you again sometime soon.
Thank you,
Definitely.
everybody. Thank you. Will that survey link be in the email?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Yes, it will.
Okay, okay. Diana, I just wanted to mention that that was my first marriage. My last name was Sanchez, so.
Oh,
we were-
wow.
We were friends back then.
Oh, my goodness. Yes. Twin names. Thank you, Diana.
Okay, well, thank you very much, and I look forward to seeing the email.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you. Take care, everybody.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you, Liz again.
Oh, you are most welcome. Thank y'all so much.
No,
Right.
absolutely. We will reach out like for our next one probably, because I think we don't have a date for the next one, right?
Not yet.
Not yet. Got it.
Great, thank you.
All right. Thanks
No,
a lot.
Take care.
See you
Bye.
later.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Dave. See you later.